Well, hey everybody, get ready for this episode of, did I say episode? It's really episode. Get ready for this episode of NoogaLive. We're here today with the people that serve this great community to help it make what it is today. And we're here with Chief Roddy and Captain Sutton. So get ready to hang on. Your digital mayors, Jody Stein and Rob Barber. Here we go.
Coming at ya.
So as I was just mentioning, we have an excellent opportunity today to sit down with two great servants of our wonderful city. And we're here today with Chief Roddy and Captain Sutton. Thank you both for being here.
It's our pleasure.
Awesome. So Jody and I, as soon as we had this opportunity, we were so excited because, again, what makes a great city is the people, the places, the things to do, the life that it is. But not only that, there's a foundation of people that are serving it every day to make it great. And these are some of the great people today. So I'm excited to talk with you guys a little bit and share. So listen up close because these are some great messages you're going to get today. Right, Jody?
Definitely. In chatting just now, I've learned so much about my habits that really are not that helpful in life. And I feel like my mind has been blown open now just with all of this new information. So you guys have some great things to share with us today.
Absolutely.
Great. So maybe we'll start with Captain Sutton. So tell us a little bit about your story. How did you end up getting into service here and getting here today?
I'm a native of Chattanooga. I graduated from Brandon High School.
Okay.
After graduation, I went to Florida A&M University.
Nice.
And upon graduation, moved back home. Got here and was not able to break into my area of study.
Oh.
And a friend of mine from college had mentioned to me that I would make a great police officer because I was very talkative.
Oh, I love it.
And from there, I applied, and the process was seamless for me, which is not always the case.
Okay.
Got into the profession, realized I was an adrenaline junkie, and that I really liked the pace of the work, of going from call to call and helping people out. And after a few years, realized I wanted to stay in it.
That's awesome. So it was really a passion for you then.
It became a passion that I didn't know that I had.
That's awesome.
I feel like it's so helpful to have friends for that reason. I mean, I love how you're like, my friend said I would be really good at this because I'm talkative, and here I am. I mean, sometimes it takes that inner circle to be like, you know what?
People see
try this
things
out
in you that you don't necessarily see in yourself until you get exposed to it. So it was good advice.
What a great story. So listen to your friends, people.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, so Chief, I know you have a long history with the department here, and you've done a lot of different things. I was able to read your bio online.
Oh, bless your heart.
And it is glowing, and it is one full of a lot of service. So first and foremost, thank you both on that note. But tell us a little bit about your story. How did you end up in where you're at today?
Same as Jerry. I'm born and raised Chattanooga. Went to Tyner High School. Went away to college, and thought I was going to be a police officer in Nashville.
Oh,
I went to MTSU, so I put in my application, got hired in, was supposed to be starting the academy. Last thing they told us about a week before the academy started was move to Nashville and go take your doctor's exam. So I moved to Nashville, got an apartment, went in to take the medical exam, and they told me that I had a slight degree of red-green color blindness.
You're kidding.
Well,
Can't work for Nashville, the degree of color blindness I have. So
Wow.
came back here with a criminal justice degree thinking, all right, I got to find another career now, and got to know some friends who said, no, get your application in with Chattanooga. It's a little bit different, thankfully. So I came through, started, went in the academy, and I've been here almost 25 years.
Wow.
And I remind the chief of Nashville every time I see him. I'm not the greatest cop in the world, but I don't think I'm a slouch either. So your standards are way unrealistic. So, but I'm thankful that faith and friends and family all put me where I'm supposed to be.
Awesome.
That's great.
Those are both great stories. I love how it shows that you may have a path that you're thinking you're going down, but you just keep moving forward, and that path will take you to where you're supposed to be. Just like both of these amazing people are today, they just kept moving forward, and that's awesome. That's a great message. Great message. Well, listen, we have a few topics just I'd like to maybe throw at you and just put them on the table, and maybe you guys can share with us a little bit. Tell us about recruiting of new officers. I mean, what is that process like? As we talked about, you going through the application process. What is the recruiting process like? So if someone's watching this and they're like, I don't know, I'm nervous. Should I do it? Should I not? What's the process like?
Well, we enlist multiple measures in trying to locate ideal candidates to become police officers. It is a calling, but at the same time, you can, as was the case with me, introduce a person to something that they may not have considered before, and through that they realize they do have a servant's heart. And then after we get them through the application process, then everything else is just teaching a skill.
Gotcha.
So it's regardless of whether we go into a church or whether we go to an educational facility or even word of mouth.
Right.
Once we get them to the line, we can coach them through the rest.
Gotcha.
We just have to pique the interest first.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. I used to have an old boss that would say, I never really hire on skill, I hire on attitude. If you got the right attitude, I can pretty much teach you the rest. And so that's awesome. So a servant heart, like you said,
yes,
is really
you have to have a passion for service. A lot of times we'll get new recruits to come into the academy, and they have to write a letter, in essence, saying why they want to become a Chattanooga police officer. And what you hear over and over is, I want to help people, I want to help people. But once we get them through the application process, get them into the academy and start training them, they realize that it's so much more to helping someone than just their own small conceptualization of what help really is. Being a former director of training, I enjoyed seeing that whole transformation, because a lot of times they come in very young, or they may come in right after the military, so their life experience is very compartmentalized. You go from the parents' house to college, and then now I'm an adult, and I have to make decisions not only for myself but for other people.
Sure.
And we
And
need
that lives
to
are-
see
lives
the
are
wide
at stake.
scope of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That a lot of maturity comes within 20 weeks.
That's awesome. That's great. So now, as far as recruiting goes, I know there's, I believe from what I saw on the website, there's an academy process. So can anyone apply at any time, like today, or how does it work from an academy standpoint?
We accept applications pretty much year round, but you have to get them in by certain deadlines to be considered for certain academies. There's the background checks and so many other tests and qualifiers that have to go through. But our recruitment protocols are about as deep as we could make them. I mean, it starts with job fairs, with social media postings, everything we can do to just get the word about the Chattanooga Police Department out. But when we sat down and studied where we were losing individuals in the process, we realized there was a very strong thing that you can keep in recruiting, and we weren't very strong at it. And that was a one-on-one connection with individuals that we were recruiting or hoped to see in the academy. And we found that individuals were dropping out of the recruiting process of their own choices, and we never see from them again. We don't understand why they dropped out. So what we started doing a few years ago is we would take individuals that had just simply dropped out for some reason or another. And we made phone logs, about 20 or 30 names, and then we would go down, chiefs, captains, lieutenants, about 30 of us, and we would go down to our emergency operations center. It's a big room downstairs. Looks like what you would think, bunch of TVs, bunch of telephones. It's just what an EOC looks like.
Okay.
And we would do basically telemarketer phone calls.
Okay.
So we had set scripts of where we would pick the phone up and we would call an individual and go, hey, can I speak to David? This is David. David, this is Chief Roddy with the Chattanooga Police Department. Noticed that you had put in your application with our department, but at some point during the process you had withdrawn. I'm here calling today, see if there's any information I can give you that may get you back into the program, or if you've decided that a career in law enforcement is not for you, I'm here to talk to you about it. You can tell from how.
Yeah,
we said this a
he
lot.
definitely
So
has said it a few times.
We said it a few times. So, and then we would just get into a conversation with him or her.
Yeah.
And then you realized many times, and you would make logs, found employment elsewhere, moved away, wants to come back in, wants to reinstate their application. This was an issue. And then we would turn that back over to our recruiting division, and they would do direct follow-ups.
Gotcha.
And it just got people back into the system. And we found that direct one-on-one communication from a member from the police department really ramped up our recruiting efforts and got individuals into our academies. And that's not a dynamic that's similar across the country. Many agencies struggle with their numbers.
I bet. I mean, because your life changes from the time you probably apply to the actual process, and situations may come up in your life where that causes you to get maybe a little off track outside of the guardrails, and you give an opportunity to get them back into the pipeline. So that's awesome. That's true. That's great. That's really that's exciting. A couple other things. Tell us a little bit, because we were having a conversation before we jumped on camera. We were talking a little bit about just the academy process and what you look for out of an officer and going through that training. So maybe, Chief, you can share with the folks that are watching this. What do you look for out of an officer? What are you looking for? What's the model?
For who we hire to come into the academy, or just what we hope to see progress?
What you hope to see in progress and build?
As Jerry said a moment ago, she hit the nail on the head. One, we're looking for the why. Why do they want to do this? As we've explained before, as hard as this job is, as much as you have to deal with or see or work through, if you have a very clear why as to why you want to be a Chattanooga police officer, why you want to serve the public, staying true to that why will help bring you through the adversities that you may have in this career. So having an individual that has that self-awareness of, this is why I want to do it, and then having a program that locks them into that as we teach them the technical and tactical aspects of being a police officer. How do you do a traffic stop? How do you get out? Which way do you shine a flashlight? One, not in your eyes, don't do that. And then you just keep going through what you learn in the academy. But that's just part of the curriculum. But having them build as a person, having them expand and solidify their why in themselves before they graduate, and then especially in the months after that in their field training, is critical to producing a quality, productive, engaging police officer for the city.
That's exciting.
You were talking too about so the academy itself is at 22 weeks
Yes, generally.
ish.
And you got to take into account holidays that may fall in between that time too. So
Okay, so it's like 22 working weeks.
yes.
And then you were talking a little bit about kind of sending them out into different areas of the community to get to know different segments of the population. I feel like that was a really cool aspect. I don't know if other
Yeah, I think maybe most of the people watching don't realize this because, again, before off camera we were talking, you guys have a real emphasis on community, about connecting the officers to the community, which, I can tell you I've not heard from, a lot of different places that I've lived, and you guys seem to have such a focus on that. So maybe you can expand a little bit more on that.
We did. We kind of outlined it as a journey. When as I said before, cadet will start the academy, and Jerry has walked hundreds through this process, learning the critical and traditional components of being a police officer. But in the academy, the first component of having individuals understand the importance of engaging and learning and connecting with the community they're going to serve is the community immersion program. So the entire cadet class is broken down into small groups of 4 or 5 or 6 cadets. And then they are assigned one of Chattanooga's segments, one of our segments of our diverse population. So that could either be African American, Hispanic, Latino, LGBTQ, developmentally disabled challenged, whatever that looks like. They then go out from when that assignment starts to the end of the academy, and they just engage. They do interviews, they have meals, they talk, they videotape those engagements, what they look like, and then also do their own research. And then just before graduating from the academy, each one of those groups comes back in an open public setting. The public can come in and watch, and we encourage it. And command staff goes as well. And we sit there and watch these presentations given to where each group talks about what they learned. But it's not even so much what they learn about numbers. I mean, there is a little bit of numbers show and demographics are, percentages or such, which is great. But more importantly, they reflect on what they learned and how it helped them grow and understand. And oftentimes the reflections that we've heard on there, individuals have met someone from a segment of the population they may never even spoken to before. They may have stood in line next to someone but never had a conversation.
Right.
And as a police officer, you're going to have these conversations. You're going to have them in calm settings some point, and other points not so calm.
Right.
So having that relational understanding of other people's perspectives and their outlooks goes a long way when it comes to an officer coming into a situation and truly understanding the dynamics that are in play. So
It's not only specific to the academy. We do it throughout the department in all the various divisions. Our patrol segment will go to community meetings to engage people and whatever their concerns are about public safety in their area. We have our investigators to go out and do demonstrations or seminars or just have general conversations with teenagers, adults, neighborhood associations, fraternities, sororities, you name it. We also have our one of our lieutenants who is certified in rape aggression defense tactics. He teaches classes. So whenever we receive a call for information or wanting to know more about a specific crime or an area, we answer that call. Everything from heat maps to face-to-face conversations, phone calls, whatever the case may be. Facebook. I can't tell you how many times we'll get questions through Facebook, or even if there's a post that we see generates a lot of conversation, we'll address that issue in one form or another. The buzzword of community policing is age old, and we've tried to tackle that for many years. And unfortunately, you know, you learn a lot from what not to do. And Ferguson for us was a big educational piece.
Okay.
And just making us go back to the table and sit and say, okay, we've not been doing a bad job, but we could be doing so much better. So how should we tackle that? And over the last 4 years, but specifically over the last 2 years, programs have been launched. Some have been in place for quite some time, and we just tweaked them. The program that we have, where we speak with some of the youth about their activities and try to pull them back over to a positive side, has been in effect for years. But we tweaked it, made it a little bit more public. We did want to get the public engaged in it so that it just wasn't us talking at someone.
Right.
We were actually sitting down to have face-to-face, open, honest dialogue about where people are headed, how they could come back, the resources that were available to them. One thing that we hear all the time, people talk about, oh, well, we need programs. There are plenty of programs available, but you don't know about it if you don't seek it. It doesn't benefit you unless you use it. So we try to use all of our little avenues to make sure that we have that conversation about programs, about things going on at the department, about where we are, what we do, and how we do it, and why we're there. We have a chaplaincy program. We've had chaplains ever since I've been here at the police department. But a few years ago, we beefed up the chaplaincy program. Now we take the chaplains with us when we go on these critical incidents because we know that we need a little bit more assistance in bridging the gap that we may have if we respond to a call. Because oftentimes people know that when we show up, especially in mass numbers, things aren't good.
Not normally.
So,
generally a bit of a red flag.
So when you have someone who's working in the community in a different way, standing with you, people are more inclined to cooperate and communicate and help us do a better job.
Well, I can tell you, I mean, just from getting to know you with this short period of time, that really is both your hearts. And I'm sure that permeates. I mean, because you guys are obviously in the leadership roles, and I'm sure, just our short conversations that, it just seems like it would permeate through everybody else, that you have a real heart for the community. Because I keep hearing over and over again, community, engagement, partnership. I mean, those, and I don't think those are just words. I mean, I could really get a feel for you guys mean it, and that's awesome. That's really great.
It's what drives this place. I mean, we started community policing in Chattanooga Police Department in 1997.
Wow, really?
Yeah, that's the reaction that you should have. Didn't know, couldn't tell, and that's an honest assessment. But when we did it in 1997, they kind of built it out where the community understood what we were doing, but us as an agency, we didn't. I was a midnight shift officer in East Chattanooga driving around in the dark. And the model that they came forward with to help us understand how to help our community was very Wilson broken windows based. So they gave us these things called problem notification sheets. There's 4 copies. You actually wrote with a pen.
Triplicate.
You wrote with a pen, press hard, and you would go around in your district and you would find all of these things that represented issues. Overgrown grass, broken down cars, street lights out, all of these things that represented blight or disinterest or apathy, that the thought was if you didn't address those, more crimes and higher crimes would come in. Understanding that was the theory then. So we would ride around on midnight shift, and these were seen as a performance measure for a patrol officer. So to prove to your sergeant that you were working, you generated your work. So you would do a written citation was one, or a field interview, or a building check, or an arrest, or a self-initiated arrest, or reports entered, or tow sheets. All of these things is what you entered as statistics. So your bosses knew you were working during your shift. It's been like that since the dawn of policing. So when they made problem notification sheets a performance measure, you would ride around and do these things. So you take a streetlight issue, you check it, poll number, Public Works is the one that's going to fix this, and you turn it in. Cars here, Public Works, check that. Codes enforcement needs to board this house up. And you would identify all these issues, fill out all these sheets, and turn them in. Okay. Well, who's not in any of that equation?
No people.
There's no community in it.
Yeah.
So how on earth is that a community policing model if the community's not involved in the equation one bit?
And you're doing it at night,
And
right?
you're doing it at night. But they're doing it the other 24 hours of the day.
Flat tire, nope.
Exactly. So
Dog in yard.
it was frustrating for us as well because we saw the opportunities to get out and engage. But what we were doing is we were going into communities and telling folks that live there 24 hours a day, I'm going to tell you what your problems are, and I'm going to tell you how we're going to fix them. Well, that's not community policing.
Right.
So what we try and keep in the forefront of our thought process is It's problem solving policing. It's where we sit down with community and they identify the things that are most important to them, and we work on those issues are. And it may come through social media posts or the community meetings and everything that Jerry was talking about. We have to be present in those settings to identify what needs to be focused on, and then we work collaboratively to figure out what that solution looks like.
I love that. I just love that idea because, I mean, it's just no different than a family. I mean, you know, if you were to walk into my house and meet my family, I mean, you just met us. And, you know, but we've been together as a family for 24 years, you know, so we know what's going on inside our house, you know, and whether it's clean or whether it's not, or whether there's issues or whether there's not.
Yeah.
And, you know, and what better way for you to know that by, you know, us becoming friends or engagement or community. And
fix
being
20
together.
street lights.
Yeah.
But if you don't care about street lights, then I didn't do anything to help you.
Nothing.
Exactly.
The other side of that, however, is the activity of the neighborhood associations.
Okay.
And making sure that they have a good unit that's operating in that neighborhood, and then allowing us to come in and join that so that we're a resource for the things that they want to see happen in their community. And I can tell you, we have some neighborhood associations that are extremely strong, and they do a lot of policing of their own, which we strongly appreciate. But at the same time, they bring a lot of things back to us to let us know, hey, we'd like to see this done better, or we'd like to see you all just around more, because we feel better when you're around. And that, especially for our young officers, is encouraging. The fact that people do want them to come by.
Yep.
Now, don't get me wrong, it gets busy.
Sure.
It gets
Of
busy.
course.
But knowing that you can go into an area and receive the support of the community is one more reason why you want to come in and do an even better job.
That's exciting. That's exciting. I mean, you know, this topic, I could go on for days talking about what you guys are doing.
So could we.
Well, you know, we really wanted to do this NoogaLive episode because we really thought it was important for the folks that see this, that understand there are folks out there serving this community that make it really a great city, but not just because it's a job, but they care about the community and engaging in the community. And again, I just want to thank you both for your service. And then, you know, obviously everyone that's, you know, within your departments and, you know, within inside the police department, you know, thank you guys so much for serving. It just, it means the world. And if you guys have any questions, you know, I'm sure there's lots of avenues to get a hold of, you know.
Yes, please find us on Facebook, Twitter, Nextdoor, by phone number 698-2525 or 643-5000. And all of us have social media pages, so if you don't find the primary page, please go to our personal pages, or, I don't know, phone a friend, call us if you need us.
There you go. They are available, and we're going to link up all that information down below or up top, depending on what you're looking at, and we'll make that information available to you through links and those kind of things to make it easy for you. But please be encouraged as you're watching this to know that there are a group of people here that want to serve you and help you and be there for you, and that's what I'm walking away with today. I don't know, Jody?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you guys so much for everything you do for the community. I mean, one of the things that I love to do in this community is run. And I always love like races and big events, just seeing you guys out, supporting everyone, keeping us safe. It's really fantastic. There's one thing that we ask of everyone when we do these little videos, and it is, if you had one piece of wisdom to share with all of our viewers today, what would it be? What's the thing that you think of, like when you're getting up in the morning and you're trying to figure out how you're going to get through your day, or you're really excited about your day, and you think of this one phrase, like, what is your personal piece of wisdom?
Be the person that you want to encounter during your day.
Boom.
Ooh,
Wow.
yes.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right,
I have
Chief.
the critic, Teddy Roosevelt.
Critic.
It's hanging on the wall of my bedroom. It's the first thing I see when I get up every morning.
Awesome.
Daring greatly. There is no failure. Get in there, try as hard as you can, push through the adversities, but at least be the person that stands there
Show up.
with the sweat and the mud and everything on you. It is much better in the arena than it ever will be on the sidelines.
And there you have it.
Take
That's
that
awesome.
to the bank. Thank you guys for watching
One more
NoogaLive
thing.
today.
One more
let's do
thing.
it.
I'm sorry. Because we just spoke about this, lock it, hide it, hold it.
Oh,
Take your
yes,
valuables.
yes.
Please,
She's talking
lock
to
it,
me right
hide
there.
it, hold it.
Yeah. We're gonna post that in major post production on
Yes.
this one. So you're gonna be seeing that. So especially with the holidays coming up fast and those kind of things. So thank you guys again for being here. Really appreciate it. And we always like to end every episode by telling you that you're loved, because we truly believe that everyone needs to hear at least once a day, you are loved. And just know that there are people around this table. We love you. Have a great day. Check out the next episode live, NoogaLive. We'll see you.
See ya.